In the genre of deconstructing something, the topic that is subjected to deconstruction is broken down and looked at in a satirical perspective. But Eric Kripke's The Boiiz is truly a story unlike any other. I'm not going to talk about Watchmen right now, but maybe I will in a separate video on it later. So let me talk about how The Boiiz managed to impress me. If you have watched any of my other videos, you might understand how hard it is to impress me, because most stories I came across have been predictable narratives that are quite unsatisfactory. But The Boiiz actually left me speechless. Rarely do I look at something with the fascination I have for this series. This is because of the unique perspective it forces us to look through. When I was young, I remember one of my friends asking me, what kind of a person would I be if I received superpowers all of a sudden? And the answer I gave to him confused him and yet made him laugh. Could you guess what my answer was? I said something along the lines of, if I got superpowers all of a sudden, I would probably go insane trying to figure out whether I should use my powers to satisfy my desires or to do the right thing and help others. As you might have already guessed, I was a strange child who saw everything in a warped perspective. So I was rather surprised when I saw my point of view reflected in this TV show. Okay, let's talk about what makes The Boiiz special, shall we? In this series, there is no main character because there are too many characters. So the style of storytelling is very similar to Game of Thrones, and the show makes sure that we don't get too attached to characters. Although The Boiiz don't kill off main characters as often as Game of Thrones does, instead it gives us the opportunity to sympathize with the antagonists to the characters we are rooting for, thus taking us on an emotional roller coaster. So what makes The Boiiz special? It's characters and their fate to suffer. As an example, I hate Superman. I think he is one of the worst written superheroes of all time. But The Boiiz picked up Superman's powers and created Homelander, who is a true American hero, is a lot similar to Superman in terms of his public reputation. Yet he is extremely self-centered and egotistical in private. He treats everyone around him like his minions. He is truly a control freak. And the way he treats his own son gave me flashbacks of my childhood. Quick, change the subject before it gets too dark. And there's Butcher, an anti-hero who is a lot like Stein from My Hero Academia, but better. The first whole season, Butcher was motivated by blind rage. Even after losing a reason to rage, he still can't help but to behave in a self-destructive manner.
Noted.
And then there is the Deep, who is probably one of the most fascinating characters of the series. I'm sorry for spoiling this part, but I just can't leave it out. The Deep uses his influence and his position of power and takes advantage of a young superheroine. Later on, he is discovered and well, he loses everything. But the strange thing is how the series tries to make us sympathize with a sexual predator. Although what he did was truly reprehensible, it is not as bad as the things the others in the series do, like torturing, murder, and the most interesting thing about this scenario is how the series decided to make a controversial statement. Sexual exploitation is awful and deserves punishments, but it is nowhere near the worst crime a human can commit. And that's not all. In the second season, we are introduced to Stormfront, a superheroine that holds rather unsavory views.
Fucking yellow bastard.
As an example, one might assume that her name is derived from her powers to manipulate lightning. But it's a bit more complex than that. Do you remember the Stormtroopers? Not the Star Wars ones, the old school ones from World War II. Yeah, she named herself after them. Her racist and xenophobic behavior is slowly starting to surface as the series progresses. And speaking of racism, Kamiko, or as I like to call her, Nezuko, cause let's face it, they are the same thing. Cute Japanese demon girls who fight in a very animalistic fashion. She's a very mysterious character and quite fascinating to say the least. Now, if I kept talking about characters, I would probably be here all day long, cause there is a lot of them. Instead, I will leave you with a little teaser. The Boiiz season 1 and 2 both try to push away religion by showing how religion is only a PR tool to make superheroes look good.
You know, I don't need you, right? The Messiah thing, it's showbiz.
This is implied time and time again when we find out that superheroes aren't born, they are made with science, and showing how the righteous warriors of God are corrupt and reprehensible. But things will change when a certain someone with the powers that make Homelander look pathetic joins the series. I'm not going to say anything more, but it is going to be huge. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and join me on my journey to discover what lies beyond the veil of what people perceive as reality.